But let's start off with your favorite, Bloombito.
Bloombito. So Bloombito. So Michael Bloomberg is a very, very rich man, as we all know. He's a billionaire. And he entered the race, it seems like we've talked about before, only to run against Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, with the magic of Twitter, somebody brought up, like, if you go on Michael Bloomberg's little website, you can find the detailed job descriptions in case you want to work for him. And you go under the field organizer position. Now, the field organizer is basically just you're canvassing. You're just door knocking, and you're doing that. You're leading volunteers to do that. It's a really basic job. I'm not dismissing it. I think it's one of the most important jobs. It is, in my opinion, the grunt work, the hard labor that a lot of people don't want to do. So that's the definition of a field organizer, and you can look to see what exactly, is the job description here, what your responsibilities include, etc. But
being accountable.
Yeah, right. That's like every job. But he's paying his people $6,000 per month.
Wow.
Now, to contrast, the Bernie Sanders campaign, of course, is paying them a living wage, which is between 15 to 20 something an hour. I think depending on the state you live in and depending on the hours, et cetera, et cetera. Also, the campaign is the only campaign that's unionized. And but they're nowhere near getting paid that much. First of all, you're going to need a lot of field organizers all over the country.
Yeah.
So think about the amount of money that's just for one person.
Right there.
So the bottom line here is that Michael Bloomberg is obviously using that amount of money to get people to work for him. Now, the majority of people in this economy are suffering because this economy is we're having to have multiple jobs. The rent is getting higher. The gas is out of control. There's a recession coming. And people are basically in need. So if you are a young person, which is normally what or a person out of a job, these are the positions that they're geared towards. And so for him to be doing this, what he's doing is he's exploiting the economy, how the economy is, and exploiting the fact that poor people need jobs and they need money to get these people to work for his campaign so he can continue his run as a billionaire and continue exploiting the poor so he can continue making even more money. And you have to realize that Mike Bloomberg, of course, is a owner of a media. He owns a large portion of the media, of course, the Washington Post, Bloomberg, and he's just awful. Wait, I'm sorry, he owns Bloomberg, and he has so much money in general, but Bezos is the Washington Post. But
you hear the door knocking? Hi, we're here knocking from Bloomberg. Yes, really, I have nothing to say, but would you like, I'm getting paid $6,000 a month, so I have to sell it, but would you like to vote for a billionaire who's non-grassroots, doesn't give a shit about anybody, and started stop and frisk? Then vote for Michael Bloomberg today. Thank you. Here's the lawn side.
You'd be great.
What can you say when you answer the door? What accolades are you going to promote when it comes to Michael Bloomberg? Oh, he's an independent. So he's independent-minded thinking. He might be a billionaire, but he made that because he understands rich and poor people.
And here's the thing about Bloomberg. He, like Pasta said, he doesn't inspire anybody, right? The only thing he has is his money. And we have to just note that is exactly what the establishment is doing. They're just putting out these billionaires and these elites to fight against Bernie Sanders, because it's just ironic, though, because Bloomberg is only taking votes away from people like Biden and was Harris, Biden, maybe Buttigieg now, taking those votes. He's not taking votes away from Bernie supporters. That's just not happening. Yeah. So it's really interesting that this is happening. Now, the other reaction was like, oh, well, that's a decent amount. Everybody should get paid that much. I'm like, yeah, people should. It's not even, it comes out to about like $72,000 a year, which is
great.
It's
for
not,
a field organizer, it's unheard of.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, should most people be making that kind of money? Absolutely. But that's not how it works. And also, he's doing this to exploit. Now, people were giving us the idea, like, well, why don't you all just apply? Why don't, all of us Bernie supporters apply and just, kind of go under the radar and start, campaigning for Bernie? It's like, well, they're going to figure that out.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't apply. They'd take one look at my Twitter and they'd be like, we're not. That's denied. That application
Not
denied.
gonna. Well, he is an independent, Mr. Bloomberg. We call him Bloombito. I mean, he's not independent like Bernie Sanders.
No.
Come on. But he is an independent. I mean, remember, this guy once attracted Magic Johnson to support him.
So
He branded himself as an independent-minded thinking, which was kind of an allure back then. But right now, to the general public, he looks like more of an establishment Democrat more than anything.
Yeah.
He spoke at the DNC, all that shit. And he spoke like most establishment people do. He echoed their sentiment, and I think he's in their corner. And yes, this is all about kind of using his ego and tricking him to think he has a chance.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, hopefully that he'll take some votes away in New York or these other independent-minded thinking places of people who might vote for him. I don't know what his whole inside game is and why he would enter this race. I wish somebody would have told him that, but hey, what are you going to do? And once again, this is exploiting the fact that people do need jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, dude, that's a good salary right now.
Right.
That is really $72,000 a year is the knock on door. It's unheard of.
It's $1,500 a week.
Yeah, it's unheard of. It's unheard of.
Yeah. So.
What else we got next on Bloombito?
So Bloombito has talked about a lot of things, including talked about poor people. This is what I want to point out in relation to this, because this is what he thinks about the poor, and this is very important. According to Forbes, he said that they said that Michael Bloomberg's insistence that you tax the poor to help them live better lives, because that's how you teach them better habits, like drinking fewer sugary beverages. Heaven forbid that you fund equal health care, offer education that is affordable, and pay equally despite differences in race, religion, or gender. That you reduce the invisible strain put on so many that causes them to seek comfort in something like poor food choices. And then that you start to admit that you are a major cause of the issues and perhaps shouldn't feel so free to lecture. This is something Democrats should know by now, and often they do in theory. They just don't speak and act in accordance. So
what the hell does that fucking mean?
So this is they're commenting. This author was commenting on kind of making fun of Bloomberg, which is interesting from Forbes. But they were making fun of Bloomberg because Bloomberg had said that if you tax the poor and you make sure that they have to work, then they're going to understand and value that they need to lead better lives. So, and he literally said that they need to stop drinking fewer sugary beverages. But here's the thing: that's it's not only unnerving for a rich person to say that, because Pasta, that it costs so much more money to be healthy, to buy salads, to buy organic juices, to not be unhealthy than it does to go to a fast food restaurant, right? And buy something that's super cheap because you don't have money. And that's something that someone like Bloomberg obviously is so privileged that he doesn't know, he doesn't even realize what he's saying is disgusting. It's so elitist. It's so like, well, what do you want people to do when they don't have the money to buy anything but a sugary beverage?
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're the only country where our impoverished is obese. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, our poor people are obese. Exactly.
It's ridiculous. And it's just so easy. Even when you go right nowadays, the options at Carl's Jr., if you want to upgrade to the veggie burger, the Beyond Burger, it's $2 extra. So no matter what, they're going. I mean, it's vegetable versus meat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those situations. Our poor eat bad. And here's the thing: when you are poor, you start digging in deep. You start cutting things like food. You don't go out as much. You don't buy better food because it's more expensive. You start thinking cereal, peanut butter and jelly, all the things that are made for you to consume to put on calories, weight, whatnot. It's like one of our friends, Crow, said, pretty sooner or later they're going to have the freaking high fructose corn syrup just IV'd into the arm, because they got people addicted to that stuff, because that's what they do to poor people. They keep them unhealthy, uneducated, and they suffer into the freaking grips of.
So for somebody to say that is just gross. And you had a.
Oh, we do. Yeah, at the 48-second mark of this next video over here, I just want to show you, fam. You really want to melt? This is a man who knows how to speak Spanish. Watch this one. Holla Mea Bloombito.
Pretty bad. He had all these press conferences during the show. I think we have sounds of him
some sound.
talking to him.
You can be your own judge.
Por favor, empieza a movilizarse. Es muy peligroso quedarse en esta área y estará violando la ley. Por favor, protéjanse y tome precauciones.
Oh, in good fun.
Wow, that's worse than pasta Spanish, and that's not saying much.
Fam, my Spanish was good. My Spanish is great.